In this episode, we're fixing my old fiberglass dinghy to make her seaworthy again. This is where Puss cracked in half from using the outboard engine. These are all repairs that I've done because there's cracks in the bottom. This is the fiberglass repair I did around the centerboard trunk. This is the fiberglass repair I did when the mast came off. This is the centerboard trunk, but it's completely coming apart. Andy has very generously offered to help us with fixing up Puss. We have to get the old girl up and running. She's a little worse for the wear.
Amphibious.
Dan is going to do the icky fiberglassing work. I've put in 4 years of fiberglassing this thing, and I'm very ready to pass it off to someone else. So we've got her going on the dock cart. Puss has never gone this fast. And since I didn't paint over the fiberglass, the UV got to it eventually. This is the fiberglass repair I did around the centerboard trunk because that was leaking a lot. Same on this side, it's got the same thing as here. And then this is the fiberglass repair I did when the mast came off once when I was sailing her, and the rub rail is just completely coming off. So Dan's gonna take a turn at revitalizing Puss and trying to get her back to her proper state of floating. This is the centerboard trunk, but it's completely coming apart, and I don't like to sail her anymore because she's just too old to take that kind of strain, so I think I'd like this glassed over. But yeah, and then while he's doing that, I'm going to be working on some sewing projects. So this is old mainsail from Gak that tore on the way to New Zealand from Fiji, and I'm going to be turning it into some things for storage things for the boat. Let's do front first because we could tip it up onto that box if we have to. I think it might be easier to flip it here.
Oh, you want it in upside down?
Yeah, I do, because it's going to sit a lot better.
Okay.
We've got the dinghy all tied down. We're at Andy's house, bringing Puss to the dinghy doctor.
That boat's still tied up from the cyclone.
Oh, nice.
Too busy with keel boats to worry about that.
That thing, is that the one that you said will get out to Maggie Island and back in
No time.
Yeah.
Oh. Please say hello.
Yeah. To your heart, you don't want to...
Andy's setting Dan up with the electric sander to start taking off all my old fiberglass repairs to redo them. Because I never painted over them, the UV kind of destroyed the epoxy and everything eventually broke down. So we're just going to take everything off and do it up like new. Yeah, this is kind of a constant battle. I think the rubber has shrunk.
Took all of about 5 seconds of sanding to find out where the leak's probably coming from. So that's just a direct hole. And then on the side here, I don't know how well the camera shows it, but this is some fiberglass patching that's...
While Dan was downstairs in Andy's house working on Puss, I went upstairs to use Tracy's sewing machine, which they just have attached onto the end of the kitchen table, which is just amazing. They're such a sailing, boating family. I had a couple of projects that I wanted to do using the fabric from my old mainsail that ripped on the way to New Zealand, and one project which involved creating a bug screen for the companionway. I bought this bug fabric at one of the fabric shops in Townsville, and my plan is to repurpose an old canvas covering for the companionway that came with my boat. The first thing that I need to do is replace the zipper on the canvas cover because the old one has a couple missing teeth and doesn't want to do up again. The actual construction of this canvas piece itself is really well done, and it makes me think that a sailmaker made it or something. So my plan is to cut out the middle part of the canvas and replace it with bug screen so I can clip it on. Alright, I'm stopping here because this measurement needs to be really precise, and there's a high chance, since I don't really know how to do zippers very well, that this and this are going to move in relation to each other. So I don't need to do a back stitch because when I start over, I'll just start over the bit that I've already done. So I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to start the next side and do the same thing all the way along until I get to here. This lever here adjusts the position of the needle. So right now for the left hand side I had the needle all the way over here, but now I'm going to move the lever and you'll see the needle moves over so that it's going to be as close to the seam as possible. This is not pretty. I messed up here, but I'm going to cut those stitches out when I'm done, and then this is the first stitch. Definitely wavy. I'm definitely not a professional, but it's definitely going to hold. Sewing day 1, I've made this little holder. So Dan made the prototype in duct tape, and I basically took his design and just made it out of, this is a fabric from my old mainsail. I did zigzaggy stitch because I thought it felt more sailory. And then it's got, this is just a little grab knife because it's always good to have that just in case. Sharpie. And then this was sort of a leftover space because I just made it extra wide, but it actually fits glasses really well. And then I just have screws with washers. I just screwed directly through the fabric. The second sewing project I have, so this is what I sewed yesterday. It doesn't look like a lot right now, it's like a weird diaper, but this is going to be the shoe basket. So I've got some corners here. I'm going to grommet. Alright, for the grommets, I have 2 options. One is like hardcore big sized marine grade stainless ones. I think they're going to be too big for this. So alternatively, I have the cutest little grommet kit ever. So it's got all these different ones. Probably none of them are stainless. These are brass colored. These are stainless colored. So this is the punch. You can tell the inferior quality metal. The first thing we're going to do is punch the hole with this. So I'm just going to line it up where I want the hole to be. Oops, I need a hammer, and then we just hammer it through. And I'm going to use this piece of scrap wood as a backing because it is going to make a round shaped hole. And give it some wax. So this thing is incredibly dull, and I tried to file it sharper, but it was just taking ages. So what I did was I got a drill bit that was the same size as the punch, and I just drilled through it, and it worked splendidly. So now the next thing is that you take this little top hat shaped guy and you push it in from the back, and then this guy, put this through, and he sits on here, and then you're going to take one of these little ends that slides over like that, and then you take this guy, you put it over the whole kit and caboodle, and then you're just going to hammer down on that and it squishes it all together. And there we have it, grommet number 1. Okay, here she is with all the grommets. So here's the finished product, little hanging pouch. I wasn't able to do the elastic in the rim because the sail fabric is so old and fragile that it was just ripping the seams out. So I left it in just to stiffen the rim, so it's pushed out a little bit more than I wanted it to. Instead of being flat, I was envisioning this sort of sucking in and being nice and flat. I can always modify it. And then this is sail tape because it was already starting to rip when I was even just working with it. So it's just really old fabric. But now we have a place for our shoes and the winch handle. So Dan just spent all evening yesterday grinding down all of my fiberglass repairs. Here's my repairs. So what you're supposed to do after you fiberglass is smooth down all the edges, which I never did because I was doing it all by hand and it just seemed like a lot of work. And these are all just scratches from pulling it up on beaches and stuff.
Got some good gashes here from the
that's from coral.
The coral wars.
Yeah, so this fin is primarily what I pull the dinghy up on, so that's why it's so gouged out. And then I've epoxied some teak runners onto the bottom here. Just those are sacrificial.
Oh my gosh,
this one's
look.
Yeah, that's
right as we speak. Oh no, I've lost the. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that's a hole. And then this teak runner is completely off. Dan did the underside beautifully.
That feels like it would just rip out, but I guess once the bench sits on it, it's stronger.
Yeah, I think so.
You got your old repairs? That's quite pretty.
Oh yeah, this is my latest repair.
This is getting carbon fibre, Andy said.
By the time this video comes out, Oscar will have become, or will almost be, a fully fledged professional carpenter. Right now he's just finishing up his apprenticeship and he's very talented. His job sends him all over Australia working on a bunch of different stuff. So I am lucky enough to have him helping me just replace the runners on the bottom of Puss.
Yeah, do you want to just add on to this and then we just glass over that? Yeah.
Andy's got all the serious gear on. Safety second, am I right, boss?
I'm just measuring from back so they're in the same line as each other to the front.
Oh, not fin around.
Nah, not at all.
No. And then look at this. Beautiful piece of woodwork. Nicely smooth, round edges. Whoa.
Perfect.
It's going to sign it, I hope.
100% there.
100%.
I'll sign it.
You've got all the right tools, it's an easy job, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
quick, perfect.
As per Andy's instructions, just cut all these little strips. Now the boss has left me, not a clue what to do.
Now that Puss is all sanded down, Dan's vacuuming all the dust out and then prepping it with some acetone to get it ready to be fiberglassed. He already cut the strips out, so she's good to go.
Okay, Andy life hack number 1. Don't bother trying to guess your volumes, just use kitchen scales.
And cover them.
Cover the kitchen scales so the boss doesn't catch you using the kitchen scales.
Next up, the team is doing the first round of fiberglassing on Puss. So basically you mix up your nice fiberglass resin, get a paintbrush, paint it on to the boat, wet the strip of fiberglass, put it on, and then get more of the resin over that. Pretty straightforward. So using fiberglass tape, which you can barely even see the sticks. This is called peel ply, which is apparently it doesn't stick to fiberglass, so that's cool. So you can clamp it on like they did here. This is the smoothing over of the centerboard trunk.
When you put carbon fibre on a boat, on anything, on a car, on a bike, it's a race machine. So straight away, look at that, it'll be a race boat. Not yet, it's got to be stuck on.
It's gonna get at least half a knot.
You can't just lay it in, it's got to be stuck
No,
on.
and then the handicap.
I like that you guys have coordinated your outfits too.
Oh, absolutely. We text one another beforehand.
We're twinning, it's all good.
And then how do
You're just going
you
to grind that off, eh?
how do you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure you don't get air bubbles in the fiberglass? Because that's important.
Roller. The roller. We've been using the roller. So we put epoxy on, the strips on, and then we soak it in epoxy, and then once this first bit's soaked, then we'll put the other bit on, because you never put any sort of tape on to dry. Puss, we've got a knot out of here now. Easy, 2 knots.
Getting quite thick now.
Certified US Coast Guard.
Yep, the US Coast Guard definitely approves of this dinghy.
I thought it was a rescue dinghy.
Is now.
The lifeboat. While we were at Andy's house, Dan's seeing to the anchor that we took over the other day and wire wheeled the rust off of. He's now painted a rust-busting compound on it and left it to sit for a bit, and now he's going to wash it off.
Okay, it sat in the rust buster for about an hour and it's already looking pretty great. Now Andy says we'll acetone wipe it down and galvanise paint it. Let's go.
Galvanizing something just means that you're putting a protective layer of zinc coating over a metal, and there's a lot of different ways to galvanize. If you're getting your anchor chain redone, then you do a hot dip galvanizing, but if you want to do something big like an anchor, you can actually buy galvanizing paint, which is what Andy has on hand and he's letting us use. So you want to just rust bust and clean the entire thing that you're regalvanizing like we did, and then you simply paint a few layers on. It's almost like putting bottom paint on your boat. A week or two later, we came back to Andy's house to see the progress that he'd made on Puss. She looked beautiful and was definitely ready to go back in the water. Here she is.
These are good when you're not using it. This looks incredible.
New
When you're not using them.
thingies. Not only did Andy add some new reinforcing to the transom so that the engine didn't break the back of the boat again, but he put in these little plugs for the flotation tanks that are watertight. I did have them in the old version of the dinghy, but they were kind of all broken and falling out, so the flotation tanks often filled up with water. The centerboard trunk was beautifully glassed over and solid as anything, so I'm not going to have any more leaks when I'm rowing. And he fixed the rub rail on the front. Because the rub rail was shrinking, he just cut a piece out of it and then stretched the rest of it back, and the initial sewing repairs that I did worked really well to hold it on, and then he just added some new rub rail to the front. Andy and Tracy have a beautiful pool in their backyard, and we thought there was no more regal way to test out the newly reinforced Puss than for all of us to sit in it and float across the pool.
I've been down so long.
What's new? What's new?
But my mind can't get no rest.
What's a dream?
No, no. I've been down so long. That my mind can't get no rest. No, no. This ain't easy, darling. 'Cause the devil's on my trail. I've been running so long that my feet
the finished product of the bug screen. So it has the new zipper right here, and it's a double-sided zipper, so you can open it from the inside or the outside, which is very important. And then I just cut out the middle and sewed this on. It's a very not beautiful job that I've done here. Because bug screen is so hard to work with, what I actually did was I pinned this on while the canvas was still whole, because I knew that otherwise it would stretch a lot, and this way I could kind of use the shape of the canvas to shape this. And then I sewed it on, and then I cut the canvas once it was sewed. Now this snaps onto the outside of the companionway, and the last thing I have to do is just install some snaps. There's some old ones left over from when I bought my boat, but I took some of them out because I never thought I'd be using this thing. Luckily I held on to it, but that's a project for another day. As a special little treat for us, and because he's my adopted Australian father, Andy and his wife Tracy took Dan and I to see a real Australian inland town, Charters Towers, which is about an hour drive inland from Townsville. He just wanted to show us a little bit more of Australia, a little bit more of the interior part of Australia, and one of the biggest cowboy selling equipment stores outside of the US that I've ever seen. So there's a little bit of a flooding situation going on. Usually I go out this gate to the left here, but this gate is a bit flooded. The water's taking over. The ramp is actually going up from the parking lot to the dock, which never happens normally. Very beautiful though. Check this out. The boats and the cars are becoming one, like I knew would always happen. Very cool. Upward facing ramp. Charters Towers is a rural town with a population of 8,040 people. The town was founded in the 1870s when gold was discovered by chance by a 12-year-old Aboriginal boy named Jupiter Mossman, which is an awesome name. During the gold boom years, the town had a population of nearly 28,000 and was the largest town outside of Brisbane. The city was affectionately known as the World, as anything anyone might desire reportedly could be had in the towers, leaving no reason to travel elsewhere. Since the gold boom has died down, the town remains an outback post. The closest neighboring town is Townsville, which is located 136 kilometers away. Charters Towers is known for its distinctive, for Australia, cowboy culture, and has a giant store full of hats, boots, and shirts, many ironically from the American brand Wrangler. We went up to a lookout to fly the drone, and it was promptly dive-bombed by a group of curious birds. Luckily, the drone escaped unscathed. And we're off. Andy told us that once we got out of town to keep an eye out for road trains, which are trucks pulling 3 long trailers behind them all in a line, and it's how they get goods around Australia, because the roads are so great. Am I right, Australians? So we've got our real Australian road train experience here. Here it comes. Full of cattle. Just kidding, no cattle.
Empty. Madness, it's going so fast too.
First time this year, I've turned the aircon down up a bit. That's a red letter moment.
Here's another one.
Oh, it's a
Fuel truck.
Whoa, that one would be pretty wild if it crashed.
This is a real Australian river. So what were you telling us about the crocodiles here?
Oh, yeah, they just don't worry about the crocodiles here. They're just freshwater crocodiles, so they don't eat too much human.
They don't eat too much human.
Just freshwater. They're not like the big saltwater crocodiles.
Just small ones. Friendly 6-foot crocs. No worries.
Call them freshwater crocs.
I'd like to point out the red mud on the tires, which means that we're...
Yeah.
See right there?
Well, I mean, looks like you got up.
And there. Real truck stuff.
potentially.
So we're in the cowboy area, and just only trucks in this parking lot.
Stand out.
That's why I went and got some of the red dust on ours. We're going into a cowboy store. Yeehaw! Those are awesome.
They're hilarious.
This hat is branded with cows. So Andy is buying Dan and I each one of these shirts. He says they're amazing for sailing. Very nice of him, so we're each picking out a color. Andy's taking us shopping.
An epic shop.
I mean, wallabies.
There's a huge one back there.
Oh yeah.
They've got such tiny heads.
Oh, he looks like he wants to fight you, Dan.
I can see his balls. He's got way bigger balls than me.
He's huge.
Tuck his tail.
That is arms. Thanks for watching this week's episode. I put out new YouTubes every 2 weeks on Mondays, and for my patrons, you guys get a snack on the weeks that I don't put out full-length YouTube episode. Thank you so much to all of my patrons who are supporting me and making this trip possible. If you'd like to become a patron, my Patreon is patreon.com/windhippie. You guys get exclusive weekly videos, things I don't show on YouTube, specific things, questions, it's very fun and exciting, and also real-time updates of where I actually am, because my videos lag behind on YouTube. One-time donations, I have a PayPal, paypal.me/windhippie, and merchandise, all in the links below. Thank you for subscribing and liking my videos. It really helps me, you know, get some money, which is all the cruising fund comes from you guys. And I hope you're enjoying this series of Gecko being in the marina, Gecko being hauled out. It's sort of the overhaul series. Every time I'm in a country like Australia or New Zealand, where it's easy to get boat parts and easy to have the boat somewhere safe, I like to do big overhaul periods to get her ready for the times when I'm in places like Indonesia, where it's harder to get those sorts of things. So Australia is just a lot of boat work, which is exhausting but kind of fun, and really nice to have Dan along with me to help out with it. So thank you guys for subscribing this video. Thank you, Tish, for helping me remember when I need to do another edit and get them scheduled. Right now I'm doing a bunch of edits in Darwin, getting ready for my passage to Indonesia. And that's all. Thank you guys for your comments. I love reading them, and I'll see you next week. Patrons, YouTube people, I'll see you in 2 weeks with another full-length episode.